Hello and welcome. My name is Natty Cash, and we are back with some more predictions. NFL Week 15. We are getting down to the last few weeks of the season. Playoff implications galore. You'll see a ton of those in these matchups, and it's great to then watch some of these games as we get closer to the holiday season and get close to determining who is going to be in the playoffs. Lots of games with lots of at stake. So, first one we have here is the Miami Dolphins up against the Houston Texans. Houston Texans coming off of a bye, currently sitting at 8-5, which is a reasonable amount, 2 games ahead. But they have to make sure that they put wins on the board over the next couple of weeks to ensure that. I don't think the Colts are necessarily going to just let that slip. The Dolphins sitting at that 6-7 mark. They're trying to find a late push for the playoffs. They've been reasonably strong as of late. And so this is interesting because if you pick the Texans here, that's a good chance that eliminates the Dolphins. Now, there's maybe a very small chance that a 9-8 team could get a wild card spot, but with an 8th loss for Miami, that would mean probably the end of their playoff hopes in a real sense. Not mathematically, but in a real sense. And then if the Dolphins win, they go to 7-7. They have a chance to continue to push up against the Broncos, Chargers, some of those other teams that are looking to pick up those wild card spots. So this one's tough. Does Houston continue to lead the AFC South, or they start to get pressure with a loss here, or do the Dolphins kind of fall out of the playoff race altogether? I think it's going to be that latter, and I'm going to have, especially with the late bye week, I think that's going to refresh these Texans. They're going to come out strong, and they're going to get the win here, moving to 9-5, almost nearly securing another AFC South title. Unfortunately for Dolphins fans, I think it's a little too late, and they're going to be looking at going home in January. So, Texans with the win here. The next matchup is we have the Bengals going out to Tennessee. Bengals, again, in that very kind of rare scenario, if they can go and win it all, they'll be 9-8, maybe make the playoffs. It's going to be really tough for them to pull that off. Tennessee is in a position where they're playing spoiler. But again, I'm curious to how motivated is Tennessee looking to get wins at the end of the year. Are they really invested in Will Levis as being their future, or would it be to their benefit to have a top 5 draft pick? That's always the tough question at this end of the year. There's a ton of teams that are 3-10. You go and get a win in this game and you're 4-10, and all of a sudden your draft stock has dropped down a lot. And I'm not saying to throw games to get a draft pick, but it is something that is in your mind that maybe Tennessee is looking towards. With that in mind, I am going to give the Bengals the win, but I know the Bengals have been so inconsistent as well. Like, they just beat Dallas on Monday night, but seeing them in a game like this, I wouldn't be surprised if they make it tougher on themselves than they need to. This would push them to 6-8. Again, my thought is they'd have to win out and then hope that there's help on the other end to go in as a 9-8 team. But it is possible. So the Bengals are kind of still on that path if they get a win here. Next one we have is the New York Jets going to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. Both teams sitting at that 3-10 mark, out of the playoffs officially, and looking for next year. Really interesting to see from the Jets organization what's going to happen over the next couple months and how this team is going to choose to rebuild. Are they going to stick with Aaron Rodgers, who's 41 years old now? Is Aaron Rodgers going to stick with the Jets? Maybe he'll just retire. Who knows? So are they going to be looking for drafting a quarterback or something in free agency? Jacksonville Jaguars, I think, still are going to be with Trevor Lawrence next year. But they have Mac Jones, and they're going to see what they can get out of Mac Jones over the next few weeks. I think just from a morale standpoint, I think out of the two teams, Jacksonville is going to be the one that maybe wants to win this a little bit more. They came off of a nice win against Tennessee last week, and I think they could maybe build on that success and get a second victory here at home. So Jags with the win, moving to 4-10. Then we have the Kansas City Chiefs up against the Cleveland Browns. Again, Browns sitting in that 3-10 spot. Jameis Winston has kind of lit at least a spark from the media, and his persona has kind of helped lift this team to an extent, but there's still lots of interceptions, a lot of mistakes that are being made, and certainly, is not a team that's going to have success long term, probably with Jameis Winston. But you get to see what you have from him, and maybe they go with him next year. Who knows? The Chiefs are already qualified for playoffs. They're now just looking to solidify the AFC West, which I think they could do with a win here, and maybe a Chargers loss. We'll figure that out from in a little bit, but I think I am going to give the Chiefs the win here. It may be closer than what we think, but that's how the Chiefs have been winning all year. They haven't blown anyone out. They've just been doing enough to get the wins they need to put on the board. So the Chiefs with one more win. The next matchup between AFC teams is one that I find really intriguing. Two teams coming off of a bye week facing each other. That's rare to happen. And with playoff implications. If the Colts can go in here, so Colts sitting at 6-7 can go and get a win in Denver, that puts them at 7-7, drops the Denver down to 8-6. And now you end up seeing a path or scenario for either team to make that seventh wild card spot, right? If Denver drops any other and Colts go on a run, then they could be switching spots because Colts would have the tiebreaker from this matchup. So this is incredibly important. If it's the other way and the Broncos win, you end up having a 9-5 team, and if the Chargers win as well, 2 9-5 teams, and it's going to be tough for teams like the Colts, Dolphins, Bengals, with 8 losses to feel like they're going to be able to jump into the action and get any chance of pushing the wild card. So this game alone could really seal up what we would see as our AFC playoff picture with still 3 weeks remaining in our schedule. So, if you want chaos and you want excitement for the playoff picture all the way down, you're probably cheering for the Colts here. I think from a game plan standpoint, I think the Broncos and Sean Payton I have a little bit more faith in. But I think this is a very intriguing game. I think one to watch for the neutrals for sure. But I am going to give the win to the Broncos. As we then go to the divisional or cross-divisional matchups. First one we have is the Ravens coming off of a bye, going to New York to play the Giants. I don't really see this going any other way. The Ravens are still pushing to try to get a division matchup or division title, and sitting at 8-5, if they were to go lose this game, they could put themselves in trouble for the playoffs altogether. I don't think they're going to let that happen. They're going to go in here, take care of business against New York, go 9-5. But it'll be interesting to see then some of the seeding races between all these wildcard teams in the AFC. The next one, this is also a very intriguing one on both ends. Again, Chargers are motivated to get a win here, go to 9-5, put some separation on some of those teams that might be going on a late run. If you go and lose this game to the Bucs, you're sitting at 8-6. There's a chance that with a couple more slip-ups. And when you look at the Chargers schedule, they've got another tough game next week. They could be looking at an 8-7 record going into the last 2 weeks, and that means you have to probably guarantee your wins to then go 10-7 and make sure you keep that playoff spot. The Bucs, on the other hand, again, they're going to be flip-flopping this whole time all the way to the end with Atlanta, in my opinion, sitting at 7-6. They could really use this win to make sure they stay up top because they cannot have the same record as Atlanta if they want to have the division title. So a win here is huge for the Buccaneers so that they can stay on top of the NFC South. However, I think from both of these, it's going to be a close one. I really like Baker Mayfield, but I think I'm going to go with the Chargers here. This is a tough one, but I think I'm going to just edge the Chargers on this one. So Chargers getting the win, solidifying their position in the AFC playoff picture. This is more questions for Tampa Bay as they're trying to figure out how they can get into the playoffs after being at 7-7. Next up is the Patriots coming off of a bye up against the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals very much a part of the playoff picture, trying to hold on to the race in the NFC West. Now, unfortunately, they've lost 3 in a row, so they haven't trended in the right direction as of late. And it'll be interesting to see. Like, they need this win because if they lose and Seahawks win, I don't think they can get a playoff spot. I don't think they can come back and win the division with 8 losses on their record. So this is a must-win game for Arizona if they want to keep their hopes alive. Patriots, again, they've been eliminated. Right, they're one of those 3-10 teams. But I am curious to see, Patriots are going to be motivated to see what they can get out of Drake May, what they can build on. I think Gerard Mayo as a coach is going to just see what can he get out of his players as they get into the end of the year. And I think, to be honest, the bye week certainly helps a team like this, right? Bye weeks late, I think, maybe means that previously that they've been running on empty, but I think this gives a resurgence, and I'm going to give the Patriots an upset win, right? Cardinals are not trending in the right direction. The bye week might have been just the reset the Patriots need to get a win. So I'm going to pick the Patriots here. Cardinals, unfortunately, this probably means your playoff hopes are done for the season. And then we have one of the matchups of the week. We have the Buffalo Bills going out to Detroit to face the Lions. 2 top teams. And really, I think this is a good indicator as to where the Lions sit. Because I think a lot of people really like the Lions. The Lions have had this wonderful win streak. But they haven't really, they haven't been tested against like the top teams on the other side of the conference. So a game against Buffalo like this, I think, is huge. I think both teams are kind of right at each other, right? And you could look at either of these teams. And it's so tough to choose teams like this that have been playing so well as of late. I will say, though, right, that loss to the Rams for Buffalo means that there's still issues that they're working through. And that's the slight edge that I have to pick off of. And so I am going to pick the Lions to get another victory here. They also get a slightly more rested team as they had the Thursday night game last week. And that might just be the edge that Detroit need to come out and get a solid win here. Detroit getting another win on the board. That puts them at 12 straight wins. Incredible season they're having. Buffalo, on the other hand, they've locked up the AFC. Even a loss here, locked up the AFC East. With a loss here, it really does not change their fortunes. They're going to be gearing up for playoffs no matter what. So Lions with the victory here. Next, we have a Battle of Pennsylvania where you've got Pittsburgh going out to Philly to face the Eagles. The Eagles have locked up a playoff spot. They're still pushing hard, though, 11-2, a solid record thus far, and they're working to then eventually clinch the division as well. The Steelers also are looking to win their division. They've still got a couple games left to go, but I think with a win here, they could also secure their spot in the playoffs. And so this one's interesting. I think these are 2 good teams that are going up against each other. I think this could be back and forth. Like similar to the last matchup, it's hard to pick between these 2 teams. I'm going to go with the slight scenario where I'm going to pick the Eagles. Like both teams are playing well, and I wouldn't be surprised if either team wins. But I am going to go with the Eagles here. I think they'll just barely make the edge here and get another win on the board. For them, that's going to be 10 wins in a row, which is a solid run in their season. And then before we go into the NFC matchups, we have the Falcons going out to Vegas. Falcons are in a 6-7 record. They've lost 4 in a row, which has not been good, and has allowed Tampa Bay to take the lead. The Raiders, again, they are on the outside of the playoffs at this point, 2-11, in a solid position to draft a quarterback probably in next year's draft. 9 losses in a row. So two teams kind of in the opposite directions of where they want to go. I do believe the Falcons could go in here and get a win and turn their fortunes around. That'll be nice, and if the Bucs lose, that they put themselves back on top of the AFC South for now with 3 games to go. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out for Atlanta, but this is then a positive win in their direction against the Raiders, which I think for a team looking to be in the playoffs, they got to get a win against the Raiders. So Falcons with the victory here. Now, as we go down to the NFC, we'll talk about our Thursday night game. The Rams going out to San Francisco to face the 49ers. This one is really interesting as you look at the NFC picture. 6-7 are the 49ers. If they don't get a win here, I think they are out of the playoffs, which, I don't know if this was still a conversation, but kind of the curse of the Super Bowl losing team and the effect that it has after going to the Super Bowl. There's been scenarios like this where the next year after they don't make the playoffs, and it'll be interesting to see what San Francisco as an organization does from here. Does Brock Purdy get the contract that a lot of people think he deserves? There's been rumors of Kyle Shanahan moving elsewhere. Lots of very interesting conversations to have there. The Rams really changed their fortunes by getting a solid home win against Buffalo. And to see that happen has been really, it really pushes them in a direction that they could go and make the playoffs now. They're within a game of the Commanders to get a wild card, but more specifically, probably pushing for the NFC West title. The tough part is that both of these teams, it's hard to know what you're going to get from them. And for me, I think it's tough. A divisional matchup Thursday night. There's a lot of unpredictability. I am going to lean towards the home team here and have the 49ers win. Now, this might end up being a detriment to both of them, really, because neither of them get a chance to catch Seattle this week. And if Seattle can get a win, the 7-7 record may not be enough for them to climb up and get a playoff wildcard spot. 10-7, I think, might be tough in the NFC to qualify for playoffs. So, but it'll give a slim hope for the 49ers. Rams still have a chance with 3 games left after this, even if they lose. So 49ers, I'm predicting with the win here. If they don't, I think they're out of the playoff picture altogether. Then next you have the Commanders coming off of a bye week, heading down to New Orleans to play the Saints. Saints sitting at 5-8. They've kind of had an up and down year. They had that long losing streak. They won their last game, but just not what people had thought when Derek Carr was going to come in. Again, when you fire your manager, you realize that, the season is not going how you had anticipated. Commanders, on the other hand, have done exceptionally well. I think coming off of a bye week, they're going to just be refocused and re-energized. I don't think they're really going to be pushing for a division title. I think the Eagles are just far and above them at the moment. But I think they need these wins from games like this to stay in the playoff picture, because you drop some of these games and you're 8-5 now. If you finish at that 10-7 mark, there's a chance that another team could come in and beat you to the punch and maybe through tiebreakers. So you want to go in, get a solid win here, and I do think the Commanders will in this case. They'll go in, set themselves up at 9-5, give them an opportunity so that teams like the Rams or whoever isn't winning the NFC South doesn't get a chance to catch things up. Okay, so we're going to go with the Commanders here. Next, we have the Cowboys facing the Panthers. I think the Cowboys have this really outside chance. Again, they'd have to run the table, get to 9-8, but I don't even think 9-8 is going to be good enough for a wild card spot. And then the Panthers, again, they're 3-10. I think probably one thing I'll give credit to the Panthers is that since they had benched Bryce Young, gave Andy Dalton a few games, and then came back, I think Bryce Young has looked a little bit better. They've been a lot more competitive in the games that they played. I know they've still lost their last 3, but they've been within, a touchdown or within a reasonable amount in those games where to start the season, they didn't look competitive at all. So credit to them. I do think that at the moment, because there's still the mathematical possibility, the Cowboys may have a little bit more in the tank to say, hey, we're going to go, make this run and get a chance to still be in the playoffs. But I don't think it's going to work out for them. But here, at least, they're going to get a victory. So Cowboys with the win. Another fascinating game is the Green Bay Packers going out to Seattle to face the Seahawks. Two of the teams out of the north part of the states playing each other in December. You can't have it much better than that. Although I guess Seattle is a little bit more milder than it is out in Green Bay. The Seahawks sitting at 8-5. It's games like this, they want to stay in that lead for the NFC West as much as possible. And they've had 4 wins on the board, and that's ever since their bye week. They've been going on a tear and really put themselves in a great position to make the playoffs. The Packers as well, though, have had a solid year. They lost to the Lions, very close game on Thursday night. And really, when you look at that team and it's 9-4, the 4 losses have been against the best in the NFC. Right? They've had both losses against the Lions. They lost to the Eagles and they lost to the Vikings. So if you look at that record overall, they've lost against the teams that are above them and they have beat the teams that are below them. So with that in mind, and noting that Green Bay has a little bit more rest after that Thursday night game, the slight edge of a 9-4 team beating an 8-5 team is where I'm giving Green Bay the win here. Again, Seattle absolutely could go and win this. That would put them at 5 wins in a row and really put them as a front runner to get to the playoffs as the NFC West champion, which I think would be a big surprise for a lot of fans, but I think they're going to fall short here. Seattle will still be 8-6, depending on the result of the Rams-Niners game. They could still be sitting in that division spot. With 3 games to go, though, you're going to have at least a division matchup somewhere. You're going to have to make sure you take care of business. So the Packers with the win. And finally, we have an NFC North matchup where the Bears are going out to Minnesota for a fight there. Bears, again, you fired your coach. You've lost 7 in a row now. You're gearing up for next year and kind of what the game plan is going to be there. Vikings, on the other hand, continue to get solid wins. 11-2, 6 wins in a row. Great season for them all around. And I think that it continues. I don't see the Bears coming in and getting a win against Minnesota. Okay, that'll put Minnesota at 12-2. I think that could almost be enough for them to solidify a playoff position, depending on how other results go. But great job for Minnesota this year. They've done so that well, and they're going to just continue to get a win here, push to 11-2, which is a great spot to be in. Or sorry, 12-2. They'll push to 12-2. So these are my predictions here. You see the ones from the NFC, AFC, NFC, and the AFC only one. So full slate of games. I think we're done all of our bye weeks now. So we get right into the nitty gritty of the last few weeks and getting close to the holiday season. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you want to put your own predictions in the comments below, certainly do so. Please, have a wonderful time. We'll then see you again soon. Bye for now.